Avengers! Assemble.
Scene unfolding, seeing
John Walker, a
Jewel ones will
is under
that shield and with the wings.
his Kaiser is people that
The brand new
just come up the movie. I was just
Clerks level was Omega.
because he was never her wife.
So the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's another week in another Marvel Dudes podcast, kicking off season 3 and episode number 2 on this Tuesday, April 5th, 2022, completing the 2 for Tuesday doubleheader here on the Intergalactic Sports and Entertainment Network, recapping episode 1 of Moon Knight, plus also updating you on the latest Marvel news. This is the Marvel Dudes, alongside that one dude, John Allcorn, from deep in the heart of Houston, Texas. Yours truly, Cal McClurg, from the home studios and home base here in San Diego, California. John, still doing a lot of this after episode 1 of Moon Knight. I know we're going to get into that, though, a bit later in the program after we open up, though, with some talk about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. But, J.A., nice to be back, though, man, doing Marvel podcasting for the second week in a row, though, my man. Good to see you. How we doing tonight?
You know, my mind's all over the place because I'm checking the clock to make sure that I get my tickets for Doctor Strange 2 because knowing Fandango is going to glitch like it did last time and I almost didn't get tickets for opening night for No Way Home. But, yeah, it was definitely a head scratcher things, and I'm like, okay. But I definitely think he's actor-wise, he's definitely done a much better job than episodes 7, 8, and 9 were throughout the trilogy for Star Wars. But that is another podcast for another day. But yeah, happy to be here, and definitely some things to talk about that is a little bit concerning.
Yeah, a lot of coverage here, folks. We are going to, in fact, deviate away from Moon Knight, at least for the first few minutes here. We're going to talk about Doctor Strange. I believe a new trailer dropped today, or a lot of things are going on now. The actual runtime was also announced earlier on Tuesday. But, of course, folks, if you happen to catch episode 1 of Moon Knight last week, we want to, again, hear your thoughts, again, questions, comments, fan theories, you name it. We want to hear all of that from you here tonight on the over the course of our program. Here tonight. So again, questions, comments, concerns, fan theories, reactions to, again, the entire program. Again, we want to hear your thoughts on that. Again, drop them in our live chat box. We'll do our absolute best to make sure that your commentary is, in fact, read live on the air on this Tuesday, again, for season 3, now episode 2 of the Marvel Dudes podcast. With that, though, John, of course, only you're watching the clock, though, man, to see when, in fact, you can score some seats, though, to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, as we now have ourselves the Master of Mystic Arts as our background now here. John, you know something, man? I, for a little bit, have thought here that this film would kind of in a way be almost like the Marvel Super Bowl again. That's what I call Civil War, is the Marvel Super Bowl. Because again, you have all the characters out there, all the big names, heroes are out there. But I think, though, John, that a lot of people, and I think myself, including I think you as well, though, there's a lot of anticipation. I think, though, that we're also looking for anticipation with a Marvel film because of Endgame and now No Way Home, coming out of a pandemic as well, though, again, where movie theaters were struggling for a bit there, a year and a half, 2 years with theaters kind of reeling. And certainly, John, we'll get into all the specifics, though, about the upcoming film, though, coming out on May the 6th, though. But, John, tickets are going on sale soon. Anticipation is growing. But, John, your overall thoughts more so about this upcoming film and what this might, in fact, lead to, man, with Phase 4 here with the MCU.
I never thought I would say that Patrick Stewart is going to be a part of the MCU. But after hearing that trailer, you could say, who is Doctor Strange? I don't believe anybody that says they're not in the movie. Not Deadpool, not nobody. Because after what happened in No Way Home, guys, I'm not the werewolf. I'm not the werewolf. Yeah, you're exactly the werewolf here. So I think it's going to entirely change the MCU because as we saw towards the ending of No Way Home, and confusingly saw in Morbius, even though it's not part of the MCU, was characters coming out in the MCU timeline as well. So Loki, pretty much the timeline branch and everything is completely disbanded. So the MCU, after whatever happens at the end of this movie, is not what it used to be. Is not what we know. It's going to be the exact opposite, and so it's going to completely change. And it'd be curious to see moving forward. We'll see a lot of variants of different kinds, of course. I would assume because after watching Loki, we heard about what happened in that show. But is it totally going to flip flop the MCU? I'm a little bit confused on certain parts of the trailer. I have theories, of course, on that, and heard some rumors that, frankly, I don't want to give any thought because, again, they're rumors and things at the end of the day. And anything that says Doctor Strange on YouTube, I immediately close my eyes, scream like a girl, and scroll on because there are people out there, and if you're out there, shame on you for trying to like this movie. But it's completely changed the, as Doc Ock said in No Way Home, what is this madness? And it's going to be a ton of madness. Excited though, but a little bit concerned though, because if you go to different websites, as we'll probably talk about a little bit different runtime, but I'm excited for this movie. But like a lot of people said, I think it's gonna be great. Really, really, really good. But I don't think, in my opinion, that it's gonna top the magic of No Way Home because I think Doctor Strange is gonna be nonstop action, while No Way Home was building up a story between the three Peter Parkers.
John, I kind of feel like that this is the pinnacle point of Phase 4. I know that there's still other projects out there, though, for later in 2022 and 2023. But I really feel like, though, that Marvel is going to be hitting the pinnacle of Phase 4. Because this phase, though, John, kind of came, though, at a time where, again, we're all at home because of the pandemic going on. WandaVision came out. And then, of course, Loki came out. And then we've had a few films here and there. We've had Shang-Chi and the Eternals, and then we've had, No Way Home coming out. Now we're kind of beyond, everyone kind of being stuck at home because of the course of the pandemic, though. But, John, I kind of feel like, though, again, this may be off base, though, but to me, this feels like this could be, in my opinion, the true climax, the true pinnacle point, the top of the mountain for Phase 4, because I believe truly, John, that come May 6th, when this film is in theaters, this, I believe, begins to open the door for Phase 5, whatever Phase 5 may be, or what projects are down the line. I did see a trailer, too, for Miss Marvel that I think is coming out later this year, too, on Sunday night or on Monday. So, John, do you maybe think, though, or agree with me, though, man, that maybe come this film being out in just over a month, that this film might be the climax because of the name of the film being the Multiverse of Madness, that this might be the one that either is the climax point for Marvel, and does this begin to kind of, question maybe what's coming maybe in a fifth phase of this MCU universe?
It definitely changes the MCU because you remember originally, like when you talked about the pandemic, originally Doctor Strange was supposed to come out before No Way Home, but now what we know, it has to be because when you rip open the timeline, like you saw, don't mess with the time. And Back to the Future is a bunch of bullshit. We saw that in Endgame. You saw that in Loki. You saw that, of course, in the shows last year, and then you saw it in No Way Home. And this is No Way Home is the beginning of that. And Doctor Strange is going to completely open and shatter that. Just seeing what we're seeing in these trailers, it's going to absolutely destroy it. It's not, obviously, there's a ton of cameos that are just cameos, but I just curious, though, how this changes for Phase 5 moving forward. I love what they're doing with all these new characters. Phase 5 or phase 6 may have an Avengers movie of some kind because at some point you're building all these characters that are going to work together, but yet what do you call them? Because, again, obviously Avengers is not in Phase 4, maybe not even Phase 5, but it's going to completely destroy the multiverse, quote unquote, in the MCU, and I'll be really curious to see because I haven't seen any leaks, thank gosh, at all, and I'll be really curious to see how this changes the MCU just because Elizabeth Olsen, who plays Wanda, just got an extension, about a 6-7 year extension last year by Marvel. So by hearing about that, didn't she do that last year?
I think so.
So she got a huge extension. So this is just the thought. Since she got that 5-6 year extension last year in 2021, I don't think she's the villain in this movie. Maybe the variant version is because if she truly was the villain, Why would you give her this big contract? Because then, if that was the case, there could be a chance that she would die in this movie. And obviously, we don't know the future of Vision. If you don't know the future of Vision, why would you kill off Wanda? They're not
Right.
going to kill off Wanda, and obviously, there is a chance that when all these cameos, in my theory, again, I'm not talking about any spoilers because I don't know any, and if I did, I wouldn't tell people because I'm not that person. There's a ton of variants, so I don't think she's a villain in this movie. Like you see, a variant of Doctor Strange in the trailers twice. So if that's the case, you're going to see a variant potentially of Wanda. You see the Ultron Iron Man type things in the trailer. So that's another variant. So that just tells me that I don't think Wanda is necessarily a villain in this movie. I think when you see in the trailers with her around these candles, I think that's the regular Wanda, not the variant. Because the variant could be similar. Maybe, again, this is a thought, could team up with the other variant of Doctor Strange. But I don't think she's a villain. She obviously didn't handle certain things right in Springfield. Or not Springfield, but honestly, I don't know because I'm very confused and not looking at leaks or videos. I'm still, I don't know what's really going on in this movie.
One has to imagine, though, John, and I've been thinking about this, that Elizabeth Olsen being killed off in this film as a villain would have probably, I think probably rubbed some people like me who love her as an actress to, would rub us wrong because, like, well, if you're going to give her this extension and kill her off, it's a little weird. But I think, though, that she herself has become popular because of Phase 4, because of Wanda. As I have said, John, for a whole season of season 2 of this podcast, and even opening episode last week here on the Marvel Dudes, is that this phase has just helped characters like Wanda and Bucky Barnes and Sam Wilson, Loki, Clint Barton, the Eternals, characters who probably people don't know a lot about, get some love. And I think that that's what I think that WandaVision's popularity, John, and that Wanda's popularity has just shot through the roof because of the series. Like I just told you off here before he went live, is I hope the next time I go to California Adventure for a trip report that they still have the WandaVision photo op. They literally have the episode 1 or one of the episodes is couches against the backdrop of their house, and they have a stack of all these old TVs that you just, take your phone and just go boop, 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 get all these different angles and go from there because that's just what Elizabeth Olsen, and for that matter, Paul Bettany, don't want to discount Paul Bettany, but what Wanda / Olsen and Bettany / Vision have done is that their popularity has just, soared because of their presence in this phase of Marvel. And I think that even that Doctor Strange, I know that people love Benedict Cumberbatch for Sherlock Holmes, but that Stephen Strange is getting his due diligence now with this film, though. And I agree, though, as well, though, John, about the whole entire part about the contract, though, is that there's got to be more to this. Again, a phase 5, phase 6, because again, because I think I recall very well when Disney bought Marvel and Star Wars, they said, we're going to keep making content. We're still going to keep making content. They're not going to die because they're under our ownership. They're going to keep expanding stories. And I think that's more so, John, why I've been attached to Moon Knight, because this is a character predominantly in comic books now on the big screen, as I said last Tuesday.
Exactly. But wouldn't phase 5 or phase 6, obviously we already had WandaVision, would she maybe get her own movie or something? Because at some point, obviously, you're not going to kill her off.
We had the TV series, but maybe it could be the TV show maybe ties into a future project involving her. Who really knows?
Right, because we don't know what happened with the White Vision from, I guess, I think it's from the comics also. So we don't know where the White Vision is. He just randomly disappeared. And with all these variants that we see, then she could theoretically reunite with this multiverse being open and with
2 points.
Sure.
And I also thought about this too. Is that when chaos does ensue on May 6th, one I think though John also has to consider here, and this just popped into my cranium. One would have to think though, John, that some of those animated what if scenarios come into play. Could there be a zombie Captain America variant somewhere in this timeline? Could it be where if that happens, Captain Carter has to come kill off a variant of Steve Rogers who's a zombie? Could there be one of Ultron and Thanos somehow, some way teaming up to destroy all of mankind? One has to, one person out there. I may be the lone man on, the one man on the Quinjet who thinks this, that there has to be something tied into that what if series. Because if this is going to be a multiverse of madness, then all HE double hockey sticks is going to be breaking out in this film.
After what
I'm
we
just
saw,
saying.
no, you're right though. I think with all the shows that happened last year, and this is basically the necessarily the ending with the continuation of Loki of No Way Home. I don't see why that wouldn't be a possibility, because with the multiverse wide open, there's a version where Mysterio is out there, and in No Way Home, there is a still of Mysterio finding Doctor Strange. Certainly, Mysterio is not dead, and then maybe that could be brought up in Spider-Man 4 or Spider-Man 1, whichever one you want to call that. But honestly, I see that as a possibility with the multiverse wide open. Like Christy said, anything is possible when it comes to Marvel.
She says it right. Anything is possible when it comes to Marvel. That is for sure.
And especially with the multiverse, literally anything can happen. Now with potentially just one Spider-Man in the MCU right now, because there's a lot of issues with Sony. But honestly, I don't know. Like, I don't know much about this movie outside of the trailers, and I'm still very, very confused. Obviously, they kind of teased a little bit of Doctor Strange in No Way Home and in the trailers when Wong goes back and he's seeing where he goes.
And Wong will be in this film as well, as we'll talk about in just a second.
And I believe, was it Megan Charles, somebody that was also in this movie. So I don't know. I'm honestly confused. I would rather be confused and not know the spoilers. I just honestly don't know what would happen moving forward. But there's a ton of possibilities where if Ultron or these Ultron bots are in this movie, could there be a theoretic of Tony Stark out there? Again, this is a thought, not a spoiler. Yes. Where he was able to put a suit of armor around the world, because that was his goal since the beginning. Started Tony Stark when he started Stark Industries. And maybe this is a variant where it was successful. Did it go the wrong way? Maybe, because if there's a evil variant of Doctor Strange, which is also based off in the comics, and there's an evil variant of Wanda, what makes you think those may not be the only two evil variants of that? And with I think the Illuminati group, whatever, potentially in this movie. This is a theory. I don't know, because you see in the trailers, there's like 4 or 5 seats. One person's not sitting in their spot, so I don't know. And honestly, May 6 could not happen fast enough.
Christy is wondering, John, if there may be a Kairos variant out there from the Eternals. I mean, I honestly think, though, John, before we actually get to the cast of his film, one has to imagine that there's at least 1 or 2 variants of all these heroes out there. I mean, we saw 5 or 6 during Loki.
It's possible, and I don't disagree. I'm just with the runtime of the movie. It just makes me wonder how they would be able to do that, because obviously we'll get to that in a moment. But yeah, I think it's an interesting possibility, especially with the addition of. I'm going to spoil it because it's been out since November. Star Fox at the end of the post-credit scene. So, I mean, anything is possible. If you can bring in Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, I know we keep going with it, but it's super important. If you can bring those 2 guys in for their universes, and
just to that point, if you can bring Garfield and Maguire back into the fold, you can bring anybody back into the fold at this rate.
Exactly. And I just looking at this cast for Doctor Strange 2.
Goodness gracious.
I'm so happy, though. I think we talked about this in late 2020 when we heard about who was directing this movie. I'm so happy for Sam Raimi getting his redemption, getting his character redeemed in Spider-Man, or the Spider-Man No Way Home, and he finally directs a movie that he wanted, that maybe can be redeemed in Spider-Man 4. I'm glad to see him directing a Marvel movie once again. But looking at this cast, I'm never been more confused for a Marvel movie in my life.
With that, folks, again, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness in theaters May 6th. As of right now, the total runtime is 126 minutes right now. It could be about 129, actually, from what I read as well today. But, of course, John, that cast, as we said, though, man, of course, our good man Benedict Cumberbatch playing Doctor Strange. Elizabeth Olsen back playing Wanda Maximoff, a.k.a. Scarlet Witch, though. However, though, John, I'm reading part of this bio here for Elizabeth Olsen. There is talk here that Maximoff will be back to more of her true Sokovian self, a.k.a. the accent is returning for this film.
No! We don't want the accent.
I don't make
Marvel.
the rules, sir.
No. Either way, I'm glad she's in the movie, but just looking at this cast, it gets me confused. Obviously, the whole cast is not going to be revealed because that would basically destroy the whole movie. I don't know. I'm honestly really, really confused. America Chavez is in the movie. Patrick Stewart's in the movie.
That's a big one, by the way. Patrick Stewart, everyone knows him best for playing Picard in Star Trek. And now here he is. And also playing in the X-Men as well. Now, though, John, X-Men now jumping into the MCU.
I think he was been planning to be in the MCU probably since late 2020, early 2021, because obviously they teased it in WandaVision last year. I think during that Halloween episode.
I do, though, John, give so much credit, though. And again, I think you know very well that, we both, love Scarlett Johansson, but I also love Elizabeth Olsen so much, though. But I give her so much credit, though, John, because I think it's hard, though, for anybody, announcer or an actress or actor to, portray a character, but have to change your voice. Imagine me doing a whole show talking like this, and not being full bass. Where again, she has to do, an acting role, but with a Eastern European style voice, though. Again, that's hard stuff to do.
No doubt, and yes, Christy Picard is in it. I think it's the second.
Christy, Sir Patrick Stewart himself is in this film in a undisclosed role right now, per all the reports gathered right now.
I think there's, I'll have to look that up first before I say, because I may be wrong.
From what I've seen, though, it's right now undisclosed role, but it does mention that he did play Professor X in the X-Men for 20th Century Fox, who was also under Disney's umbrella.
There is a chance that the Illuminati is in this movie, because I know that they had a big role back in the day of. That's a lot of comic stuff, but I don't know what to. I don't want to deep dive more into it on the internet because I know there's some complete jerks out there that have literally spoiled this movie. And I will say that one last thing: any person that's working on this movie, you need to be very strict about having any phones or tablets because I know that sounds overbearing, but some people got No Way Home spoiled, and I can't imagine for me if that was what I would have been. I can't how pissed I would be. It's not just a regular movie. It's your childhood coming together. And I can't imagine not having the ugly Hallmark cry opening night.
I had it spoiled for me on opening night by a friend. It wasn't John, like I said last week.
Yeah.
I literally tweeted a GIF of Tom Hiddleston as the Loki variant going like this because a friend of mine spoiled it for me the first time it was in theaters.
Yeah, I wouldn't spoil it because that's total butthole move. But honestly, I'm excited for it. But there's a lot of mystery to it. I would rather keep it that way.
I'm just not mentally ready yet right now for this.
I'm not though. I'm getting a bunch of tissues ready, and we're gonna do this May 6th.
Christy Wilson also says, I'm 100% certain that my husband and I will be at a movie theater to see the new Strange movie. And yes, Picard is in this movie again, folks. The great Patrick Stewart is in this film, but right now in an unknown role at this rate. And Christy breaks up the hashtag, but she says, hashtag screw you, Wanda's original accent. But again, though, I think this goes back to my point, though, John, is that imagine me doing a whole show talking like this, as opposed to again, Elizabeth Olsen having to talk like she's from Eastern Europe for an entire film.
It'd be like you talking like what's his name from a foreign TV show. It just would be like, excuse me. It'd be you talking like Tom Holland. It would really throw me off. or Andrew Garfield combined together in their accent. And so, but yeah, it seems like a really good movie. I don't have no much else to say about it, but I know I think one last thing about it that's I think confusing or maybe concerning.
There is one character, John, who kind of stands out to me because I think, because
Mhm.
I've seen her name several times. Great actress too. Zolchi Gomez is playing America Chavez, who I do believe, from my, if memory serves me correct, I believe that her locker is on display at the Web Slingers ride in California Adventure at the Stark Motors building in over for Disney. And I think that all of her friends have all their lockers painted to match their outfits. And I feel like that she's a part of like an upcoming film though. And Zolchi's a great actress, one thing, but also that the character, I think, though, is just intriguing because per the bio is that Chavez is a teenager with the ability to travel between dimensions by simply punching open doorways. Okay, that for one thing is amazing.
Yeah.
Richard Palmer, who's in charge of production development, stated that Chavez's powers are maddening to Doctor Strange and to Wong, given they have never encountered anyone with those abilities, and it is their job to protect the dimensional barriers. Gomez, the actress, says that everything is going completely wrong for America in the movie as she is running away from her uniqueness until she learns to embrace it. So it's certainly, John, somebody who I think not really has like an identity crisis, but more so one who it kind of in a way, I think, John, and you might agree with me on this, but I'm going to draw a parallel here, or maybe intersecting lines here. America Chavez and Brie Larson / Carol Danvers have similar ordeals. They have powers. They just don't embrace them or use them wisely.
Yes. When you talk about her punching to new dimensions just through doors, I think of the What If episode
Yes.
with the Watcher. And is there a possibility of the Watcher, America Chavez, and Doctor Strange and somebody else being in the movie together? Because at some point, if the multiverse is open, pretty much anything is possible at that point. So I just don't see how at some point the Watcher is going to be live action, I would assume. But with the multiverse wide open, and with what America Chavez can do, I will see how her powers intact in this movie. That I think would open a lot of doors to what Marvel's trying to do moving forward. Potentially, again, just a random thought.
Can I make one small request? I mean,
Sure.
if this entire multiverse is going to be open, okay, two requests. For one, I kind of wonder, John, and I doubt this happens, but this is my serious one here.
Mhm.
I really wonder if they're going to open all the doors up and unlock the gates and let everyone, good, bad, ugly, or indifferent come through this multiverse of time in the MCU. Can I please request that we please see Steve Rogers go back and return the stones to the
I
correct
was just thinking that.
because again, if we're gonna
Yeah.
just gonna, hey, it's open season, anyone from the MCU, come on back, dead or alive, good, bad, ugly, or indifferent, then this is where I think you put that storyline in there. I know it doesn't have any bearing on Doctor Strange, or on the actual film's premise or plot. But I have to think, though, John, I mean, if we're going to open up, total chaos in phase 4, I mean, the possibilities are endless here to kind of get new content out for even phase 5, phase 6, and so on and so forth. I think you have to start, though, with what people have called Captain America: The Last Mission. I know, though, that I believe that we had talked, John, in season 1
Mhm.
about a new Captain America movie, I think, that was going to continue the series of Falcon and Winter Soldier on with Anthony Mackie, Sebastian Stan, Aaron Kellyman, and all the cast and crew did a great job on that series, though. But one has to imagine that there's got to be a project out there eventually that will actually go back and will tie into Endgame about seeing Steve go back and actually, bloop, 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 and go back and go back and live with Agent Carter in the past.
Marvel, it's been 3 years. Are you freaking kidding me? Like, this has no effect on the timeline because with the MCU wide open, this could have already happened. So they're explaining something that's already happened. So obviously, at this point, anything goes on, which could be curious to see how that how Doctor Strange goes into Thor: Love and Thunder, which goes into
Guardians
something,
Volume 3,
which is that next year or
Guardians
this year?
Volume 3, Miss Marvel,
Then
She-Hulk.
and then what is there that's next year? Who? Loki season 2. How it ended off and how what happens in Doctor Strange. So I don't know. It it's a possibility, but we both said this for 3 flipping years. That Marvel, you could do anything else, and I wouldn't be mad if you didn't do it. But it's just a missed opportunity to not. It's not because we miss Steve Rogers from this. No, we have Captain America. It is Samuel. Anthony Mack. He does a great job. He's a new Captain America. I don't know how much about him just yet outside of that last episode. Why not though? I don't
Why not?
understand why that hasn't happened. It doesn't affect the timeline, even though the timeline really, actually, if this has already happened in the past, quote unquote, it would technically be
I mean, if
before
he's
Doctor
already
Strange.
back there at the end of Endgame,
Then this is before Doctor Strange, therefore it wouldn't really affect the timeline because the multiverse is already going to break open regardless in the next couple of years or next couple of phases, phase 4. So I don't get why they're not doing that. It's a clear missed opportunity. Carter Peggy has literally, I think, gotten a short end of the stick in the MCU and out of the MCU.
yeah, because we only saw her in a couple of films. I know she had the TV series though, but again, that really wasn't
it was
directly
canceled.
yeah.
And you literally pick somebody the opposite, and I think Civil War, who literally some other actors played Peggy Carter at her
It
death.
wasn't even Haley Atwell. Yeah, I think it was
Exactly.
it kind of in a way was like Michelle Pfeiffer playing Wasp's mom in Ant-Man and Wasp and all that, where it was more of an aged person playing, but then again though, John, it's almost like, before I get to my last one, before we get to Moon Knight here, to recap episode 1 was about Haley Atwell / Peggy Carter as well though, was the fact of like you only saw her, actually saw her like in 2 movies and then she dies because of her health.
She was, yeah. So for being true, she wasn't even in 2 full movies. It was not even a 1 full movie. If it were like he was part of Captain America.
Other than First Avenger, I think the last time we saw her was when she died in Civil War or Winter Soldier.
Yeah. So it's like she got like about 30, 40 minutes of even that since 2011. It's absolutely, I think, very disrespectful. Not just
Haley Atwell deserves better.
definitely does, but Marvel, you have that opportunity. But I think there's one last thing because I know we say one last thing. But I think this is definitely the last thing. The confusing part, I think, Callan and people that are watching, Callan and I were talking this before the show. Look on Fandango. It's just 2 hours and 6 minutes. I go to another website.
The runtime has been very disputed over the past, I'd say, I think all of Tuesday. I heard 229. I read 226. Again, it's on Wikipedia. John's hearing different things. And yeah, the runtime is going to be very, very, very interesting for sure.
And I've never seen a movie have this many issues with so controversial in terms of the running start time. I don't get it though, because it's just if it says 2 hours and 6 minutes, that means it's under 2 hours. That's kind of the credits and a potential. That's like an hour and 45 minutes, which is really hour and 50 minutes is way too short, even with all this nonstop action. It's breaking open the multiverse.
I mean, unless we're getting like 2 or 3 or 4 post-credit scenes about teasing the next projects or something else, I don't really know. And my last thing before you get to Moon Knight is, and this is going to sound stupid, I know, folks, because he's my favorite character. I would just love to see a timeline part where Steve and Buck don't, where Buck doesn't fall off the train. I mean, I think we would have liked to have seen that friendship kind of keep going. But I know in sci-fi, you really can't have that because, like, people die off, or in this case, Barnes, comes back being brainwashed by Hydra. We know how we feel about that organization on this podcast and things like that. But I think, though, John, I mean, I know, of course, that, Tony Stark had his issues with his girlfriend and wife at the time. And that, Steve kind of lost everything with, Bucky's death and that then Agent Carter's death. And then he sees, Barnes, but he's not Barnes. He's the Winter Soldier. I just would have liked to have seen, those two kind of right. And I know that we saw it though at the end of Endgame, but like right off into the sunset when you get to the ending portion of Endgame.
Maybe there's a dead period of Marvel. We can do our own what if predictions and just to kill the time in the future. I mean, who knows?
All right, a couple of thoughts before we get to Moon Knight. First, my good man Espen Carell, giving us a couple of laughs, enjoying the content so far. Espen is always my man. I thank you so much for joining us and joining our content, watching our content, I should say. Christy also says, this movie has really got me interested now. And the fact, again, I think it's more so, John, I agree with Christy. The fact that you're pulling in Patrick Stewart in from the X-Men, that's a huge home run hit right there for casting.
Because according to the comics, there's a thing called there's a certain group, I won't say because I'm not sure if it was in the comics tonight, has been around for a very long time. And so maybe they're hinting at that, saying a group, because I don't want to say that I could be wrong, but it's Sam Raimi, so I trust him.
Christy also adds, I had to look it up on Wikipedia, as I'm doing right now as well on my laptop, but America Chavez, portrayed again by Zolci Garcia, uses the superhero name Miss America. So I'm wondering if that will be used in this film. I'm going to guess no, John, because this is like her introduction to the film. A lot like when we had seen Steve Rogers introduced. He wasn't Captain America. He was Steve Rogers. I think it'll come because I feel like she's a part of a project coming up next year, though, that maybe then we'll actually see her use her actual name, or superhero name, I should say.
Also, forget though, Ant-Man 3 is coming out next year, and they hinted at Infinity War in the second one. So that's going to totally destroy everything. And yeah, I can't wait for 2023.
Couple more hashtags from Christy Wilson. First, hashtag Haley Atwell deserves better. Again, a very short stick there. And of course, Christy Wilson is chiming in with everyone's favorite hashtag on this podcast. That, of course, is hashtag Screw You Hydra. John, take it away, please.
Screw you, Hydra.
Just let those videos be like Aunt May, okay?
No, please stop killing Aunt May.
It's not me that's doing it.
Time out. Okay, one last thing again before I get to, we have one more comment, then we're going to get to Moon Knight. Whose death, John, hurts more? Aunt May or Uncle Ben?
I would say Aunt May for only one reason. After she died, Peter had nobody. When Uncle Ben died, Peter, Andrew Garfield, Spider-Man, and how am I blanking on Tobey Maguire's name? Tobey Maguire, he still had Aunt May for the 3 movies. He still had Andrew Garfield's parents still had, of course, had Aunt May, but I think this specific Aunt May, I think, had to be the most crucial because Tom, remember, he's still in high school. You got hormones, you got emotions going all over the place. Everything you know, who you love. Tony Stark, the person that was your mentor, is dead. You try to like Doctor Strange for that. He basically said no, and then his mistakes and losing Aunt May, you have nobody left. And so to be a high schooler alone in the crazy world, who J. Jonah Jameson's right after you. That has to be super scary, especially with who knows what the future is.
I agree with Aunt May. The actress portraying her, I forget her name, but she's been doing it.
Marissa Tomei.
Yeah, I think she's done it for quite a few of the films. I'm only going with Uncle Ben because of all the memes I see of people who wear the Spider-Man costume and literally lay out Uncle Ben's rice and go, no. It's just like, stop. S-T-O-P.
Maybe there's a variant of Uncle Ben out there that's still alive because of Multiverse of Madness. Because that means technically with the Multiverse of Madness, they never died.
Yes, please. I want that to happen. We have 3 more comments, so we're going to get to Moon Knight. We promise, folks. We promise. But believe me, we do love your. But again, folks, your input though is so meaningful to this podcast, Marvel fan or not. So we definitely thank you guys so much. My good man Nick Davis writes in to say, John, I'm hoping for a Avengers versus X-Men movie.
Professor Xavier, Doctor Strange, Wanda, not the variant. I think
Wolverine.
and I don't know. Maybe it could be like a Civil War 2.0, but it's actually an
Yeah,
Avengers
but bigger and
versus
but
X-Men
bigger,
movie.
but bigger and better than the last time.
He's in
So,
this movie?
Oh, who'd you find?
I was looking at Thor: Love and Thunder because there's
Oh.
literally no trailer. So
Yeah. Espen will go with Aunt May. Christy goes with both. And Espen also says we need a time rewind to bring Aunt May back. But with the multiverse opening up for business on May 6th, it is possible that this could happen.
No. It would ruin Spider-Man No Way Home.
That is true, though.
No.
But I think though if you bring Uncle Ben back, I don't think that ruins No Way Home, does it?
But who would be Uncle Ben? Like you obviously know Uncle Ben dead. They quoted that they can Far From Home. It's just you and me. I don't know. I think maybe I'd be wrong. I think I would ruin the character of Spider-Man because who he became because of the loss, I think changed him for the better. The question is, which Ben Parker are we talking about?
Yeah, Nick writes in, we're due for the Ben Parker Spider-Man. I think that this just kind of adds more intrigue to maybe later projects in the next 2 to 3 years, maybe.
That's why we need to do a Marvel What If, our version of that on Marvel Dudes, because literally we could go 4 or 5 plus hours talking about this, but we have Marvel Dudes to talk about.
Yeah, and we are kind of on a bit of a time limit here in a way. But with that, folks, into our official recap of episode 1 of Moon Knight that, of course, premiered last Wednesday on Disney+. John, I'm going to start with a simple question. What in the hell did we sit through last Wednesday?
I kind of get the premise. I love what they're trying to do. For me, it was the way they explained it. Like we talk about, it's not because it's different or it's Egypt. No, I like different. We love Wanda. We love Moon Knight. It's just the way they tell a story matters. Fan service matters, and if you tell it with a good story, it matters. I don't understand. I think Oscar, he does a really good job. There was a scene. I think he thought he got ghosted on his date, and he didn't. So I feel bad for him because obviously he is constantly bullied. Nobody honestly cares about him outside of his mother, which is really unfortunate.
He doesn't answer the phone, for heaven's sakes. Like, yo, come on now.
Yeah, so he obviously has mental health issues. I kind of understand where it's going. How they explain it to me was like, what? That's a little bit, or for me, very confusing. It felt almost a little bit, maybe because I'm a little bit like goofy, but it felt a little bit like Inception. Like you think he's there, but he's really not. And you see him in the truck, and then you see 2 seconds later, and he has the gun in his hand, and all the people are killed. So either he forgets what he did, even though it's not actually him, quote unquote. Is it just because he does it fast? Does he go through like a quick time loop? I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me frankly, at that point. I don't know how he goes from that to back to being himself in like a couple of seconds. It's super confusing. I don't know how to feel about it. But frankly, I know people are going to give me hate for this, but I give it a 4 out of 10 for the first episode, only because I'm so confused on really how they're trying to tell this character and how he goes from being himself to Moon Knight to back to himself.
John, what did I literally say a week ago on this podcast to kick off season 3? Do not go and pull a page out of the Book of Boba Fett playbook and give me flashbacks. Literally twice in the first, I'd say 15 or 20 minutes of the episode. What were we doing, John?
Flashbacks. Like this character is. Shut up, Alexa. So shut up. Okay, so it's just I love the costume. I love what they're trying to do. It's just so confusing. Like it's him, but it's not. But is he speeding up in time? Is Moon Knight speeding up in time, but he's back in normal time? But then I don't know. It just doesn't. Maybe I'm not getting it. It's so. I have never been so confused to start a Marvel show before.
And I think, John, that's the next question is, are you more confused after the first episode? I really am, because it was just very, again, you didn't take, you didn't take the, Agent C-Max advice, don't pull the page out of the playbook and go down the Book of Boba Fett route. Yet you do. But believe me, a lot of credit, though, goes to Oscar Isaac, because he's pulled this off pretty damn well considering. But then, though, for me, it was just a little, believe me, I thought it kind of picked up, John, towards the end. I will say that. It picked up toward the end, though. But like him being randomly chased by people in the middle of a neighborhood, the whole thing with, Ethan Hawke, we'll talk about later on in the episode here. So it was like, I was kind of feeling about it, honestly, but more of like, one of these, like, what are you doing? Already we're flashing back, because again, though, John, like I said, though, with this being mainly or strictly a comic book character that probably a lot of people, us included, don't know a lot about him, and kind of starting out this route or going down this route already, just kind of honestly, because we were kind of, we were pausing a lot early, and it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know, man. I don't know, man. And then it did pick up towards the end, though. But still, though, John, I know it's one episode. We shouldn't be grading teams in sports or shows after one episode or one game. But to me, I was still very much doing this after we signed off Wednesday night from watching the program.
Yeah, it just you've had about a week to process it, and I had 3 or 4 hours of sleep that night. But I didn't hate it. I liked it. I get what they're trying to do, and I'm not. My criticisms is not, again, because there's always gonna be somebody out there. This is not like they're doing like the other Marvel. It's different. They're not showing like they're having a bunch of cameos and then it's a good show. But it's just super confusing. Like at some point, is he coming to the MCU? I would assume yes. Imagine him teaming up with that's another time. I don't know. I'm just super head scratch confused, and frankly, I can't say that enough after just one episode of Midnight.
Yeah, I mean, it's bizarre, it's different, but it is really, for us, in our opinion, and mine as well, it's just very confusing when you're not familiar with the character. And we have been very, I think, honest and transparent here after 2 episodes, or 1 episode now tonight, though, that we've been very honest about not quite knowing what we're getting here, John, and viewers out there with Mark Spector, Stephen Grant, whatever his name really is. Some thoughts real quick, though. John, Christy first says, quote, "Why do you call me Mark?" Mark Spector as Stephen Grant, as we saw earlier in the show. Christy did write in last week. She said, "I enjoyed the first episode. Think it's a good start for the series." I mean, I think it is too, Christy, but I think John and I both agree, though, it's just very...
It's a confusing start.
It's a very confusing start. But again, like I said, though, Christy, my point, though, it did pick up, though, John, towards the end of this first episode last week.
I do love the character. Now, obviously, it'd be cool to team up with other Marvel characters that not necessarily have mental issues, but mentally have a lot of things going on. But I don't understand really what they're trying to do yet again with this cult leader. It's just so... it's not because it's different. It's just the way they tell it to me is where I kind of have some issues.
Christy also adds on that she heard that Moon Knight will be a part of the MCU after the series does conclude.
But how, though? I don't think that's a bad point. I just... I heard rumors about a certain character being in Moon Knight at some point. Another one, and they kept their mouth shut. So, honestly, I don't know.
No, neither of us know. And also, Espen was asking if John's in the blank. No, he's not. He's just having some tech problems right now at this point in time. But again, though, John, is, who really, though, is Mark Spector? Mark Spector, Stephen Grant, But again, though, John, like I said, though, earlier on in the show, though, and even last episode, Oscar Isaac, man, has just done a great job already about his character. Again, he has DID. He doesn't remember a lot of things, though. But like we had seen, though, as well, though, John, is that, we have seen him kind of being two-faced, though. We saw, him running in the village. Then we saw him at work, though, different accent, different mannerisms as Steven than he is as Mark Spector. So more so, John, is, really in your mind, who do you really believe, though, is Mark Spector / Stephen Grant at this rate?
If it wasn't so confused on episode 1, I could probably give you that answer. But to be honest, I don't know. I do like the theory Nick said.
Oh, dude. Yes. We have a very good fan theory here from Nick. He says, okay, fellas, theory. Steven's mom doesn't exist, which is why he is always leaving voicemails and never actually talking to her directly. I think, John, that also ties in, though, to when he found that outdated Motorola Razr phone and Layla was calling him. Because like I said, again, DID, he doesn't know who he is. He finds that phone and he has 70 missed calls from Layla. Like, who's Layla? But I like this theory, though, from Nick, though, John, that his mom doesn't exist to Steven, which is why he's leaving voicemails and never actually talking to her directly.
Because maybe it's somebody that's already dead, or like I say, it doesn't exist. So because it makes me wonder. Obviously, with the multiverse, what we don't know. I know we're not talking about that. We already talked about all that. It's just with him not remembering or not doing a certain acts or killing these people, it just makes me wonder that it's somewhere in between. Does he somehow at the end of the series get some mental clarity?
Christy also adds on that Oscar Isaac is brilliant. Again, I loved him when he was in the sequel of Star Wars. I know people have, piled upon that saga, but Oscar Isaac was, great in the Star Wars sequel saga. He's also, by the way, for those of you who have not been to Disneyland yet, but he's also reprised his role as Poe Dameron on Star Tours and also on Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. And our good man Justin Bosman says that this is a great Marvel podcast. So great to hear that as well. With that, though, John, let's go to Ethan Hawke real quick. Again, Ethan has been known more so for his time on Broadway and some other big name movies. But I generally, though, John, have kind of already fallen in love with him as a villain. So, John, your thoughts about him as a villain? Are you feeling good, bad, or indifferent about him portraying the cult leader who's the main villain right now after one episode of Mr. Moon Knight?
Honestly, I don't like him at all. It gives me obviously like a creepy. That's the whole point. Being creepy. It just doesn't make any sense. I feel like he's hiding something that the people don't know about, similar to WandaVision, but they know, but they really don't know. Honestly, I know it's just one episode. I'll give we got 5 more episodes.
5 more episodes to go.
I'm not intrigued by him as a villain at all. It's not because it's different. It matters how you tell the story, in my opinion.
No, I agree about it being about how you tell the story. But more so, John, is more so about Ethan Hawke himself, though, as the actor portraying this, this villain. How do you feel about him personally so far after one episode? Good, bad, indifferent? What do you think?
Different, and I think that's a good thing. I think despite what I think when people hear my criticism, it's not. I think he's done a great job. It's weird. Like I don't know. It's different, but it's just not my favorite so far. But again, my opinion could change in the next 5 episodes.
Christy also writes, Ethan Hawke is fantastic in the show. He creeped me out as the cult leader, and I liked it. And I think, though, John, that kind of in a small way, ties into what we had said about Wyatt Russell getting the flack on the web for not being the true Captain America back in season 1. Here already, though, John, here's a villain in Ethan Hawke doing his job and creeping out one of our viewers, but they like it because he's doing his job, what he's doing, what he's supposed to be doing.
He does a great job of it. I think once we get more clarity, or maybe from my viewpoint, of how they're trying to tell the story, then I think I could probably feel the exact opposite of how I feel right now. It's just more of either what's his origin, or like other certain villains of the past, why is he a fraud?
With that, John, finally, jumping into the Easter eggs for the first time in season 3. Going to pull up an article from one of our reliable Marvel and, for that matter, entertainment sources via ScreenRant.com. First, John, let's talk about those glass-filled shoes, shall we?
Oh, no, gross. That's, I'm sorry, but that gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Justin, for you asking, Doctor Strange comes out May 6th. May 6th is the Doctor Strange film coming out. And Nick also says, broken glass in your shoes. If he's willing to inflict this kind of pain on himself, imagine what he's capable of doing to others. Perfect quote right there from my man, Nick Davis. And hopefully, Nick, you and the wife are doing great as well. But I think, though, John, that Nick's right, though. If he's willing to inflict pain on himself, imagine what he's capable of doing to other people.
That's what scares me, because in this episode, we're talking to whoever to depend the fate of this lady. That made me think he wasn't talking to anybody.
Because, John, remember, everyone had the balance, like the law scales you see on screen here, folks. Like it almost, and again, John, another parallel. This entire, the entire scene. Let me make this a little bit bigger for you, for the viewers out there. But John, you may not, or you may or may not agree with me on this one.
Okay.
But to me, though, the fact that this cult leader in Arthur, for one named after my favorite Disney character of all time from Sword of Stone, but the fact, though, John, that here's my parallel finally. You see that he's got the balance of the Lady Justice's balancing scale on his wrist.
Mm-hmm.
Let's also remember that in one particular scene, I believe in the museum, that he approaches Oscar Isaac, whatever variant of himself he was, but every person around him in his presence then rolled up their sleeve and showed the balance, the balancing scales. That, John, reminded me so much of the Flag Smashers pushing their button on their devices and getting the entire group of people to suddenly become brainwashed, members of their little cult. So cults, two similar type of ordeals, John. I think that really ties in to this episode, and seeing that scale on his arm, but also ties into my thoughts, though, about this maybe being a thing, though, from Falcon and Winter Soldier, where, again, we literally saw the Flag Smashers, by way of technology, push a button and they get all of Central Park going after Barnes and Wilson.
I think because he can somehow instantly control people. If that's the case,
and literally it's a tattoo on his arm that he can do this.
And if that's the case, he's the one that killed that lady in episode 1. It's not these other mystical creatures. It's himself, and he's trying to brainwash him into thinking that he's not as evil as he is. I could be absolutely insane. It's just that's actually a really good point. I didn't even think about that to the reflection from Falcon and Winter Soldier.
So apparently, John, the glass-filled shoes are Marvel comic nods. Again, this is just going back to what I said, though, in regards to, again, a thing here where we have seen comic books coming to life on television. So as the description reads here, assuming he's not in training to become the MCU's Darren Brown, this sequence is likely a reference to Harrow's counterpart from the Marvel Comics back in '85, Moon Knight #2, where Harrow was a scientific experiment, in pain theory, for example, how to block out the neural pain response, lives with a incurable, debilitating condition that causes constant agony. Other than skulking around small towns in the Alps killing old women, Arthur Harrow's profession is not mentioned in Moon Knight. The glass slipper ordeal could point towards his comic origin as a pain-obsessed scientist. So now we're dealing, John, with two guys who have debilitating mental ordeals, sadly.
Yeah, I don't know. That's so weird.
The next Easter egg, though, John, a Namor reference in Moon Knight. So the MCU apparently has been teasing Namor the Mariner for so long at this point, it's easy to get jumpy over any minor reference to Atlantis. With this in mind, though, a London shop called Atlantis can be spotted when Oscar is running for the bus. The fictional location was heavily teased in both Iron Man 2 on a shield map and an endgame for underground earthquakes. And although Namor's character rights have proven to be a sticky subject, he's a strong rumored addition for the Wakanda Forever movie. Is Moon Knight's watery storefront another, perhaps, breadcrumb? As you see Atlantis right over here in the top left. So, John, this again, though, man, is just what I think separates Marvel from the rest of the playing field. Because now, though, man, here's one that could perhaps be teased for Black Panther, too.
I mean, 100%, though. They even teased Black Panther, the first one, back in Iron Man 2, which I didn't know until about a couple years ago. So I think that's what Marvel it's like they give answers right in front of you, but like it's obvious, but it's not that obvious at the same time to where you just don't think about it, you move on. It's just some random sign. And you figure out 5 to 10 years later, oh shoot, here's da. So I give Marvel credit. I honestly don't know much about.
Justin believes that Iron Man 2 belongs in the God tier of Marvel films. It's certainly up there.
It's a good movie, but I think I'll reassess after Ant-Man of next year because, obviously for me, we're not going to get into who favorite movies, but it was definitely a good movie.
I mean, if you want to find out favorite films, there's an episode in season 2 where we actually ranked the entire MCU on an entire podcast.
I may need to change that after Doctor Strange, so we'll have to kind of change that a little bit because no one else
Christy also says Wakanda Forever, and Justin, we agree. R.I.P. to Chadwick Boseman, good actor who played in the Black Panther film. Next Easter egg, John, Donna adopts a Moon Knight comic character. Everybody has the misfortune of knowing someone like Donna, Stephen Grant's supervisor. Perhaps does not immediately strike viewers as a established Marvel comic character, but her name comes from Donna Kraft, who debuted in the 92 Moon Knight issue number 39 as Mark Spector's publicist. Live-action version shares little else in common with Kraft, but it's amusing how Moon Knight flips Donna from Mark's employee to his boss. Talk about a plot twist there. That's pretty insane.
Is that why she has not necessarily a soft spot for him, but she lets him get away with certain things?
That I would probably think so, because again, you're going from being under his watch to now it's vice versa.
Which is ironic because
I think this is even a real life thing. You form those bonds though with bosses over time, whether good, bad, or indifferent though.
Yeah.
But then they'll have the roles reversed. Those a little intriguing here though. But I do like that Easter egg though. That's a cool one.
Now that she was under his watch, now he is under his own watch per se, quote unquote.
Yeah, interesting for sure. Next one though, J.A. Moon Knight's Enon hints at how Egyptian gods work in the MCU. Assuming dots are all connected in the end, Moon Knight poses something of a god problem for the MCU continuity. When Chris Hemsworth Thor brought Asgard into Kevin Feige's realm, Earth's mythical gods, Thor, Odin, Hela, etc., were redefined as aliens who became figures of worship after visiting Earth in centuries past. Thus far, Moon Knight's Egyptian gods appear as regular traditional deities, rather than advanced beings from another world. Happily, an Easter egg might have already solved that disconnect. Moon Knight references a group called Ened. If I'm saying that wrong, I apologize. A supergroup of Egyptian gods. Although the concept itself exists within genuine Egyptian mythology, Marvel Comics adapted them back in the 50s in issue 96 of Marvel Tales. This flock of gods originally hailed from a pocket dimension known as the Celestial Heliopolis, but could travel to Earth via a gateway. Said gateway opened into ancient Egypt, and similarly to Norway's relationship with the Asgardians, visitors became worshipped by locals. Episode 1 of Moon Knight's emphasis upon the Aeneid's importance suggests this idea could carry into live action things. But again, I don't know though, John. I don't really like this one here because we already have the Asgards. Why add another group into the fray here? John, you're on mute, buddy.
Honestly, don't see a point of it. I
mean,
don't
they
care if it's
reference
something.
a lot. Again, this is just part of my confusion here. Is how is this all like tying back to like Tut and Nefertiti and ancient Egypt all of a sudden?
Unless they were the curation of or been around longer than Asgard, I don't know.
Who knows? Could be.
I don't see a point of them being around. But I guess that will explain in the last 5 episodes. I don't know.
So, John, this is where you and I kind of began to lose our marbles a bit because here he was pulling a Callan McClurg at the bar and talking to a statue of somebody. I usually do that when my friends aren't around. They're out dancing or whatever. But apparently, John, the living statue is a Marvel character.
So that's why he was talking to him, because maybe he was sorry,
It's testament to Oscar Isaac's Moon Knight performance that 10 minutes with Stephen Grant and your heart is already breaking. To seal that deal, a silent and motionless living statue street performer is Stephen's closest friend. Portrayed by Sean Scott, the Golden Fellow does not offer his name or indeed anything, but Moon Knight credits him as Crawley. Similar to Donna Kraft, Crawley's name is taken directly from Moon Knight's adventures in the Marvel Comics. Specifically, a reference to Bertrand Crawley, a homeless man who serves as Mark's informant. His transition from living on the streets to the street performer echoes Donna switching from Mark's employee to employer, with both honoring the source material despite taking a unique direction. So that's a pretty cool little role reversal right there.
But when he said, "Why do you call me Mark?" is this a reminder of not necessarily his past life, but of one of his lives or personality? I don't know. I don't know. That's so weird.
Moon Knight's Layla is actually Marvel Comics' Marlene Alron. Again, if I got that name wrong, I apologize. When Stephen Grant discovers Mark Spector's burner phone, he realizes his alter has been getting plenty of attention from a woman named Layla. Though she goes by a different name, Layla, who we know shall appear in the future episodes, played by May Callumway, is very likely Moon Knight's interpretation, or interpretation, I should say, of Marlene Alron, making her Marvel comic debut in '76. She is an archaeologist, romantic partner to Mark Spector. Though she's yet to feature on screen, Layla is also romantically involved with Oscar Isaac's Mark Alter, and also confirmed as an archaeologist. So in a way, John, Layla happens to love both sides of Moon Knight.
Is because she's also two-sided? I don't know.
I don't know. Other than the fact that it looks like that Oscar Isaac's character is a huge history nut and maybe borderline archaeologist, because again, we saw him playing with the girl with the pyramid who was putting her gum in the pyramid for some reason. That could be a thing, though, or maybe they share that connection about being archaeologists / history nuts, maybe.
I don't know. I'm still trying to get unconfused from last week.
Oh, here we go. Moon Knight's Duchamp explained. The only name rubbing shoulders alongside Layla in Mark's secret phone book is a Duchamp. Considerably easier to decipher than Layla, Duchamp must be referenced to Jean-Paul Duchamp, one of Moon Knight's allies, again from the comics. He's an ex-member of the French Foreign Legion. Duchamp was not expected to feature in Moon Knight. There's no actor announced thus far. Maybe episode 1's phone book nod is just a passing Easter egg tribute for comic book fans, or maybe the prelude to a surprise appearance from one of Moon Knight's most popular sidekicks?
I'm lost.
Again, John, I think mainly, and again, you and I both are on the same page here about being confused because for the millionth time in 2 episodes, my man, this is literally a comic book being put on television now.
Yeah. It's just so weird.
Christy also says, remember though, fellas, Layla was confused by Mark as Steven when he answered the flip phone. Because she only knows him as Steven, not as Mark.
Yeah, and somehow he forgot about the burner phone. So, or maybe that wasn't him. That was, I wouldn't say that was me. I don't know.
Nick has a very interesting point here, John. Wonder if there will be a nod to Apocalypse.
What?
What if he's wondering if there's going to be a nod to the character?
Shut up, Alexa. I'm sorry, but she keeps interrupting you.
Nick is asking, he's wondering if there will be a nod to Apocalypse.
I don't know. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, to be honest.
I'm guessing the character named Apocalypse as well. And Justin, we agree. This is confusing. It's been a very confusing first episode. With that, though, John, later on in the program here, Moon Knight's mirror foreshadows his transformation. This was when I think he was on the phone, I think, and then all the lights were going around and like we were seeing like some weird ordeals going on here at this point in time. So Moon Knight relies heavily upon imagery and symbolism to foreshadow Stephen Grant's inner powers, sometimes subliminally, sometimes less so. He wears white in bed, covers the floor in sand, as I told you earlier on. Exterior shots show the moon, as I told you during the viewing party last week. And there's a white circle motif running through his apartment, as I told you as well last week, Allcorn. Perhaps the best example, though, however, comes in the moment that Grant first hears Mark Spector in Moon Knight episode 1 with the figure appearing to his altar in a round circular white mirror in the bathroom. Very reminiscent of the moon. It's a neat visualization representation of the superhero secret Mark Spector is hiding, but the biggest red flag, of course, is how a museum gift shop employee can afford such a massive apartment at London's rent prices.
Who said he afforded it?
I don't know yet. John, I mean, look at that. That's literally like a perfect full moon mirror he's looking into right there.
So that's him or foreshadowing. Would that be him, but not him that put the phone in there?
But John, did I not tell you last Wednesday when we had our viewing party to watch the program that there's he covers the floor in sand. We saw him cover up the footprint after he got out of bed that one night or one day, whatever it was, after he was playing with the Rubik's Cube all night. I pointed that out. I told you that there was a crescent moon around his bed. That's another thing I told you about. And that there's this white circle running through the apartment. That's 3 things in this episode that I told you about that are now coming to fruition here with this Easter egg.
You did. I remember you mentioning it, and I didn't see it. And you had the much better eyes.
Oh, no. Okay, so John, here's the thing. So again, I asked you about Apocalypse from Nick. Christy backs up Nick's comment. Other than that one, this one here. Where am I at here? Christy says Oscar Isaac portrayed the character Apocalypse in the film X-Men First Class. So that goes into what Nick was saying, wondering if there was going to be, a nod to Apocalypse. And Christy is saying Oscar Isaac portraying the character Apocalypse in the film X-Men First Class.
I completely forgot about that. So now the X-Men is technically part of the MCU with Patrick Stewart being in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. I wonder how some of that maybe ties in as hints. But I'm glad you kind of cleared that up a little bit.
You know something? I wonder about this one about Arthur Harrow completely shades Thanos because he did. He literally threw this man under the bus in his little rant right here. Sometimes the absence of an Easter egg is the actual thing itself, especially in Moon Knight, where the past 14 years of MCU continuity apparently did not happen. Attempting to convince Steve Grant of amidst virtues, Ethan Hawke's Arthur Harrow argues, had Amit been free, she would have prevented Hitler, the destruction he wrought, Nero, the Armenian genocide, Pol Pot. Thanos did not collect every single Infinity Stone and wipe out half of all life across the universe to be left off Arthur's list. On one hand, not mentioning the big purple fella wisely keeps Moon Knight separate from the MCU's wider continuity at this early stage, but it's certainly strange to hear any Marvel citizen reel off humanity's worst moments and leave out the events of Infinity War. I totally agree.
I'm more scared and concerned of him than I am of Thanos because he can shove it up his purple nose. Is that a? Oh shoot.
Do you think it was a nose ring?
But see, at least with Thanos with his like quadruple chins, at least we know he has a soft spot for a certain character. While this character in Tear has no heart, has no feelings for nobody, and I'm more scared to be around him than I would be of Thanos, to be honest.
Yeah, and again, I think Ethan Hawke's done a great job with this first episode. Stephen Grant brings Avatar into the MCU. Both of them.
Ooh.
Moments after ghosting Thanos, Arthur Harrow refers to Amit being portrayed by her own avatar. A nervous team responds with Blue People. Love that film. The obvious nod to James Cameron's 09 blockbuster is a little spicier, knowing Disney now owns Avatar following their acquisition of Fox. And asking the big questions, if James Cameron was a Thanos snap victim, how long has Avatar 2 been delayed by in the MCU? Harrow tries to explain what he really meant, but Steve interrupts with, "You mean the anime?" This quip nods to Avatar: The Last Airbender, although some fans might take issue with the franchise being described as an anime when it was clearly not anime. But I did love that little jab there, or a mention, I should say, in regards to Avatar. And hey, Zoe Saldana, again, MCU character who's also an Avatar.
That's it. I have an unpopular opinion about Avatar, but that's neither here nor there. This is a Marvel podcast.
Christy actually wanted to clarify, meant X-Men Apocalypse, not X-Men First Class, for Oscar Isaac He portrayed an X-Men as well. And that appears, John, to be the end of the Easter eggs for episode 1. We will probably, John, jump into this thing perhaps maybe next episode. We are running out of time here for our program. But really, that is a very good one, though, about how, in fact, that his tattoo actually does work. But with that, though, folks, we will finally conclude here for the night. And we are going to go, folks, finally at this rate and jump into tonight's final thoughts. All right, another podcast for the Marvel Dudes in the bag on this Tuesday evening, heading into the Wednesday morning here. Before we get to, get to the season, the next episode of Moon Knight coming out on Wednesday. With that, John, final thoughts, buddy. What do you got tonight for this episode? Again, action-packed program, man, and it really flew by today.
That confusion, and excitement. I'm ready to see what happens in episode 2. I'm not going to be the person who just writes off the whole series. Again, Oscar's done a phenomenal job. Can't wait for Doctor Strange 2. As I'm literally checking my phone constantly to see if tickets go on sale because this is right around the time that No Way Home did. So, my phone battery probably will die in here in a few minutes. But, yeah, I mean, I'll be curious to see what episode 2 is, and hopefully we're not as confused.
Yeah, I agree. I hope that we're not confused. With that in mind, though, folks, again, just a major thank you again to all of our viewers again for making the Marvel Dudes possible on this Tuesday. And again, Christy Wilson, Espen Carell, Nick Davis. Nick, again, man, good to see you again. Justin Bosman also tuning in and for dropping some thoughts as well here tonight on the pod. With that, folks, we will see you folks back here. A quick schedule note for you folks. I'll be actually at work next Tuesday, so we'll actually be doing the program next Monday, the 11th, at roughly 10 o'clock. I think we'll probably be doing a twofer on Monday again. But we will, though, folks, have more content, though, on Wednesday and also on Friday as well, though. We're working on actual shows, though, but we will, though, have some more content for you with probably a sports program on Wednesday. It'll probably, though, folks, and with that, folks, real quick here, I want to clarify something real quick, or at least say something real quick here. Starting Thursday, I'm going to be working more extensively at the local arena here in San Diego with our in-house production team. So I will actually not be able to be on the program or do anything on Thursday because I'll be at work all day on Thursday, and literally, I mean, all day and all night on Thursday. So we'll have some content on Wednesday, probably in the afternoon, maybe. Or if not, maybe later in the evening, because I'll probably be out, though, doing some things with some friends on Wednesday. And then we'll have some program, too, probably Friday afternoon as well. And then, of course, we'll come back, though, over the course of the weekend when time allows, though, for some more content and plenty of other great things going on. And also, real quick, Christy says, I hope episode 2 clears up some. I think, John, I agree with this sentiment 100%.
If it doesn't, for me, I'm done with the series. I just think if it doesn't clear anything up, I'm done.
And Nick also saying later Gators. Well, hopefully, Nick, see you next week, though, man. Again, we're back here, folks, from the Rumble Dudes next Monday night to recap season 2, or not season 2, episode 2 of Moon Knight back here on the Intergalactic Sports and Entertainment Network. But with that, folks, again, great to have all of our viewers here with us tonight. With that, folks, for John Allcorn and Callan McClurg, we'll see you folks back here again next Monday for Marvel coverage here again to recap episode 2. But again, plenty more content, folks, coming your way for the remainder of the week here on the Intergalactic Sports and Entertainment Network, folks. Till next time, good night and bye-bye.